Welcome, everybody. Consideration of approval of the agenda.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye. Agenda is approved as submitted. Consideration of approval of the minutes of the November 24, December 1, and December 10 meetings. Questions or discussion?
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Minutes of the November 24, December 1, and December 10 meetings are approved. Consideration of approval of the consent calendar. Any questions or discussion?
So moved. Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Friesman. Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye. Consent calendar is approved as submitted. Business of the mayor. Just one thing, and you'll recall at our planning session, we went through the goals of the city and of the governing body. And the number one goal on the pending goal is the repurposing issue at the school, and we didn't have much discussion on that. So I thought one thing I can tell you is that although the bigger group that's meeting on that is not going to have a meeting for a while, all the way through the end of January, there is a small group that is going to be meeting, and that taking up the issue of whether a individual or entity should be retained to help spearhead that effort in terms of facilitation, identification of feasible projects, perhaps looking into the financing issues as well. So that is a fairly significant activity that's going to be going on during this next period of time. So if any members of the council have any input, I'm going to be on that smaller committee, and you wish to get some information either to myself or Dean Andrews, who's the chair of the whole committee, or any of the other members of that smaller committee, you should do so, because it eventually may come back as a financial item if that committee asks for assistance from the city or any place else to fund that particular activity, once it's determined who or what should be involved with that. So that is an issue that pertains to our budget. Also, the capital structure, in other words, how our capital assets might fit into what's going to be going on with that repurposing effort, as well as also there's a pending, I believe, and this is certainly just more, I'm not involved at all in this, but it's my understanding that the Floyd County Fairgrounds is in the process of trying to identify a way of moving forward to create a gathering place out at the fairgrounds that's fairly significant in terms of the amount of expenditure and the kind of capacity that's going to be involved there. So I just make all that, it's an update for everybody who's on the council. If they have interest in any or all of that, now's the time to be at least making your concerns known, or for that matter, holding a planning session or whatever to prepare yourself for reacting to some of those activities that are going to be taking place during and at the end of January. Any questions? Moving on, consideration of resolution 107-14, amending Floyd County Communications 28E joint agreement. Discussion.
Want me to say something?
Sure.
Okay. We're amending the 28E communications agreement. In the packet are the two paragraphs are amended, and I think you should have a copy of the entire amended agreement now. It changes the way in which the representatives are selected both by the Board of Supervisors and the City Council, and it also changes the manner in which the property is dispersed or disposed of upon termination of the 28E. It's become really impossible to, under the old agreement, to really define whose property is, which property belongs to which party, and so we're just treating it as commonly owned property, with the provision that if one of the entities proceeds to maintain the communication center, they can buy out those pieces of personal property that they want to keep, and anything else will be disposed of and split equally. So this has been a topic of discussion with the county for a long time. My understanding is that they've reviewed this agreement you're looking at and put their blessing on it. I think they may even have approved it. So as soon as you approve it, we'll sign it and file it with the Secretary of State.
Discussion and questions.
I know there's been a lot of work put into this by the county representatives and the members of the council that serve on that board as well. So, go ahead, Michael.
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Resolution 107-14 is approved. Consideration of resolution 117-14, approving participation in the transport network feasibility study for broadband. Discussion.
This is the study that would look into creating a regional transport network for broadband services. It's basically a group of how this started. There's a group of communities came together this last spring and looked at the idea of sharing equipment, sharing resources, and the idea of creating and sharing in a regional broadband network that would be owned by those entities. So what this feasibility study would do would simply be to look to see what equipment is in place and essentially how feasible it is for this to come about. The study itself is $120,000, and they're looking to get a minimum of 8 communities to participate. There are 7 that have signed this letter of intent to participate, and so we would be as of today, I believe we would be the 8th. I know there's at least one other that's planning on joining, and maybe another one on top of that. But regardless, if we sign on, we'd be looking at a maximum expenditure of $15,000, which I would recommend that we would use out of our broadband cable TV funds to do. And basically, what this is going to do, it doesn't do a study on the city itself to see if doing a broadband network in town is something we want to pursue. This is really that middle mile as far as getting from those larger hubs to the community and creating a network and a system to do that. We had the representative that's kind of facilitating this, Curtis Dean from IAMU, come and speak to the Broadband Commission and answer questions. And while the Broadband Commission was not officially in session, they did give a general consensus that they thought this would be worth pursuing. So I bring it here before the council for the council to consider participation in the broadband feasible study and regional network.
Questions or discussion?
To add on to what you said, Steve, that part of it is, too, that you could leverage some of the equipment and facilities and things like that that these other communities have, were other communities to go forward with having that type of utility or something.
Absolutely.
So each community wouldn't have to invest individually and a lot of equipment and things like that, and have a lot of, I don't know, redundancy or whatever.
Yeah, they talk about things such as head ends and different pieces of equipment that communities out there already have. It's already existent. So by creating this, yes, you could have two communities that have each of these pieces of equipment rather than the 8 or 9 that might be involved in the entire group. So yeah, it's a sharing of equipment. It would be ownership of that network, and which would lead to better pricing, better availability, things of that nature, if we so chose to go down that road. And by going down that road, it could be the city doing that, it could be the city partnering with a private entity, it could be the private entity just helping, giving them that little extra nudge to do the project. There's a whole bunch of different options. We just in the last year or two here, we did the fiber ring in town with Broadnet Connect, and so we have a dark fiber ring in town, and that's one of our assets that we're bringing into this in Charles City, is having that ring, having that already there. So that'll be, that ring itself will be assessed as an asset of the city in this study, and see how that could be potentially used in the grand scheme of things. So.
The internet access is becoming more and more of an important key in the economic development sense as well. It's not just for home use and things like that. That's becoming more and more as well. But the economic development is really becoming more important.
It's really critical, especially when you talk about the size of community we are, and that ability to have that information connection, I think, is going to be key, just now and even more so in the future.
And that's one of the things we talked about the Broadband Commission, was not necessarily that it'll have that this could show the positive for a direct local impact. However, it could create a boom in regional development, which in turn benefits the local communities involved. So that was a big positive.
Yeah, and to be part of the ground floor of this, I think, is important too.
I'd so move.
Second. Clerk, call roll.
Valero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 117-14 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 122-14, authorizing and approving a loan agreement and providing for the issuance of $140,000 general obligation economic development note and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Discussion.
Yeah, this $140,000 loan is our borrowing to cover the cost of putting the Allied 7, our cost of putting the Allied 7 infrastructure with the new housing development out there. Ultimately, this is going to be paid back with tax increment financing generated from those new homes coming off of it, but initially we're going to issue it as a general obligation loan. We received 3 bids, and the winning bid came from State Bank for a interest rate of 1.997%. And so that's the first part of the agenda item here.
Further discussion on this item.
Yeah, I thought we were going to, and I didn't notice it, but we were going to also take action on approving payment to Allied 7, but I don't think we put that on the agenda here. I must have missed that. So that's not part of this agenda item. This is just for the loan itself.
I'd so move.
Second. Okay. Clerk will call the roll.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Valero.
Aye. Resolution 122-14 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 123-14, setting a public hearing on sale of property. Discussion.
This is just a redo of something we did previously. When I looked at it, we set this matter for public hearing on a motion and not on a resolution. I don't think it really is a material title flaw, but the people buying it are in no immediate need of the property, and so I said to Trudy, let's just let's just do it over and make sure we resolve the title question, and so that, we're just redoing it.
This is a 507, right, that house
Yep.
that we tore
Yep.
down?
And the only difference is we're setting a public hearing by resolution rather than motion. Like I said, probably would pass title, but,
Takes it out of the city attorney's E&O.
what?
Takes it out of the city attorney's E&O coverage.
Yeah.
Is that basically what it is?
Well, I'd wouldn't be too concerned about that yet.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
123-14 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 124-14, accepting donation of property. Discussion.
And before you tonight, you've got the updated agreement for accepting the property that Ralph put together. As we discussed the other night, the building located at 401 North Main, which currently houses our economic development, chamber revitalization, and community foundation. First Citizens Bank wants to gift that building to the city by the end of this year, if possible, so we would like to take action on that tonight. We talked the other night about the terms of accepting it, and we had some questions on property taxes and whatnot, so I know Ralph changed that in here so that the city's going to be taking over the payment of the property taxes, and whether we pay taxes on the building or not in the future, I guess, is some question. We may or we may not have to. We'll see how that works, but we are prepared to take possession of that building, giving a 10-year lease to the bank on the garage. They want to continue to keep usage of the garage, and we have tenants over there that have no interest in leaving. At least I haven't seen any moving vans over there. So I think it would be a good partnership. I think it's a great location for those entities to be, and to be able to still provide that place for them to exist. I think it meets the benefit to the community, and I think it's a good thing.
Do we have a lease agreement with those tenants that we're assuming or will have with them? Anything that guarantees their continuity?
We have nothing guaranteed right now. I mean, I think there is a lease agreement. It's just kind of a handshake type situation right now, but we will draft something official here the next month to get that on board.
Steve, you said that that there was a 10-year,
25-year.
Did I say 10?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
25.
sorry.
25 on the garage.
And they're retaining that.
Yes.
interest. They're not, we're not leasing it to them. They're retaining the right to occupy and use the garage.
Correct.
Right. The 10-year is the non-compete
Yes.
clause that we put in.
That's
I'm
right,
sorry.
for a bank.
So yeah, we cannot sell it to another financial institution. That's what the 10 years says. But 25 years on use of the garage.
Now, I see at least one of the changes. Did you make a change on the taxes?
Yeah, that's what he said. The
I know it,
council,
Heard him say.
they objected to, I had them paying prorated taxes. They didn't want to pay the prorated taxes, and so the council indicated they didn't want to make an issue out of that, and so I changed it so that the taxes were paid by the city beginning with the installment delinquent April 1 of 2015.
Okay.
That was my understanding.
Yeah,
I think that's what we said.
Mhm.
The annual rent
problems I don't see.
that we receive is $18,000 a year for the building.
That's correct.
And that, we anticipate continuing on with the existing, is that paid by area development, chamber, or who?
It's paid by
ADC, and you settle up with ADC. Okay.
Straight? Here we got
Yep.
it straight? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Any other questions or discussion?
I think we owe a thank you to First Citizens Bank, and I move for the acceptance of it.
Second.
Actually, First Citizens Financial Corp.
Excuse me, First Citizens Financial Corp.
Citizens Bank.
Not Delane Friesman's employer, the other
Right,
one.
it's a different
Right.
corporation.
That's right.
Any further discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Resolution 124-14 is approved, and I'm sure we'll have a few more discussions with the tenants and so on to work out any of the...
They're gonna have to start
Details.
sucking it up now, I'll tell you.
But we're all... It's all in keeping with what I think has been the thrust of what we've been doing for the last 15 or 20 years, combining partnerships with the public and private sector, and also further emphasizing the fact that we have, in effect, a part of our community development effort for the city is located at 401 North Main, so it's a good thing. Consideration of unfinished business. Consideration of new business. Hearing none, miscellaneous correspondence.
None, Your Honor.
City Attorney's report.
Just to mention that I have approved title already on that building, so we can go ahead and record the deed.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk's report.
Our next planning session will be December 22nd at 7 o'clock. And you have in front of you the list I have of all the different boards and committees that you guys serve on. If you want to take a look at that, make sure I have it correct. And if you want to change from any committees that maybe conflict now with your schedule, I think the first meeting in January generally, Mayor, is that when we kind of talk about
Well,
that?
that's when we
to see-
try to review it.
to see if it needs to be changed.
You don't really need...
No, I don't really. So if you want to take a look at that. And there's another sheet too that talks about when they meet in case you want. I don't have information on all of them, but the ones, I got information on most of them, so. If you want to look at that, that'd be good.
Thank you. So when did you say the next meeting was?
December 22nd at 7.
City Administrator's report.
Budget times. Trudy, did we print that sheet off?
I got it.
They've got it? Okay.
They have-
With the times jotted in?
A whole
we
bunch
talked
of 4
about?
o'clocks and a couple 5s.
Yep.
That sounds right.
And I gave Dan a copy tonight. He couldn't open his, so I gave him a copy, so.
Yeah. Those times are good? Great, excellent. So, yeah, obviously, if there's a problem with any of those times, let us know, but I think we got it hammered out, so. Just want to mention Jake Johnson, our new GIS planner, started this last Monday, so I'm going to he's not here tonight, but I will make an attempt to see if he can be here for the workshop on Monday so everybody can meet him. But we're off and running there, so that's great. Street lights. I talked to Dirk after our last session, and we have found a couple street lights. Some there at the Hy-Vee parking lot, some on city property that need some wiring that need to be fixed, and so we are working with the electrician to get those repaired. And there's also a list of probably about 6 or 7 lights around town that they found that are out. And so we're working with Mid-America to get those fixed as well. So after the next couple weeks, if you still notice lights that are out, or if you notice them now and want to give me a list, that would be fine. That would be helpful. But we have narrowed down a number of those street lights that are out. And the last thing I just want to mention is Monday night we'll have Myrtle here from NIACOG to start reviewing the comprehensive plan, where we're at to date and so forth, and go from there. But other than that, that's all I have.
Board, commission, or committee reports. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're adjourned.
You gonna be okay?
29 and a half minutes. It would have been
Oh, yeah.
29 minutes.